Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about syphilis in Japan. Yes, I know. But maybe you've heard that syphilis is a growing problem here in Japan. And if you haven't, well, you know what? Let's get started. First of all, what is syphilis? It's a sexually transmitted infection that has symptoms such as sores, skin rashes that appear as red or brownish, rough spots on the hands and feet, and it can affect your brain, your heart, and your blood vessels if left untreated. It is, however, treatable with antibiotics if caught on time, but delaying treatment can cause permanent damage. And yes, it can be preventable by safely and correctly using condoms. Syphilis in Japan unfortunately has a long history, with documented cases starting as early as the 15th century. It became more widespread during the Edo period, and the Tokugawa shogunate tried to control the spread of the disease, but yeah. Paleopathological research on skulls from the Edo period suggests that between 40 and 70% of the population had syphilis. Yes, let me repeat that. Between 40 and 70% of the population had syphilis. Back then, the problems with it in Japan was so rampant that people were desperate. They even resorted to using a treatment by Chinese alchemists that contained mercury in it, hoping it would expel the disease from their bodies. And while it certainly expelled something, I doubt it was the disease itself. Fast forward to modern day, and we've got more numbers and more statistics. Right on the tail end of World War II, syphilis began to make a comeback, with nearly 180,000 cases reported by the Japanese Society for Sexually Transmitted Infections. During the 1950s, there was a bit of a reprieve thanks to modern-day science. The spread of antimicrobial agents kept the spread down to about 500, which honestly, given how bad the numbers were before, not bad. And I'd love to congratulate them more, except if the problem had ended back then I wouldn't be making this video. Starting in the 2010s, syphilis made a comeback, and in 2013, those numbers began to explode. In that year, men accounted for 67% of cases. Women in their 20s and 30s made up about 75% of female cases. And the infection rate for sleeping with someone who has syphilis is high at 30%. Recently, there's been evidence of people with syphilis intentionally acting as spreaders of the disease. Despite the many campaigns that the Japanese government has put out there to make people aware of syphilis, many still seem oblivious to how serious the problem is. One of those campaigns was, believe it or not, informative Sailor Moon condoms back in 2016, encouraging people to get tested for STIs. And don't get me started on the fact that the Japanese health insurance does not cover STI tests for screening purposes, which means you are expected to pay 10,000 yen out of pocket. Even more if you want a comprehensive test. And in today's world, where casual meetings and hookups are quickly becoming the norm, trying to prevent infection is proving to be difficult. And there is nothing wrong with hookups, but people have a responsibility to be honest when it comes to STIs. And that's why I think we should normalize talking about it, asking your partner whether they have an STI or not. And look, it's not the greatest conversation topic for setting the mood, but come on. Take a look at these numbers here. In 2022, we had 13,000 cases recorded, and this is the first time the number has gone above 10,000. And if things continue at this rate, dating apps are just considered to be one source of the spread. Quite a lot of cases are linked to the sex industry, and pretty often they offer services without condoms. During the height of the pandemic, there was such a massive drop in businesses that the sex workers had little choice. There's massive pressure for female sex workers to accept male clients who aren't interested in wearing condoms. Like, seriously? These female sex workers are told by their recruiters that they will make a much higher profit if they have unprotected sex. The financial pressure to do this, as well as the fact that they would be forced to take months off work if they admit to being infected, means that the infection will spread more and more. And nobody can just afford to lose that much personal income. As a result, about 40% of cases of syphilis in Japan are related to the sex industry. So between the pressures of unprotected sex in the sex industry, as well as people being dishonest on dating apps, or even intentionally spreading the disease, syphilis is absolutely on the rise here in Japan. Campaigns keep begging people to be more aware, but until people start paying attention, you know what to do. Be honest about your sexual history and demand the same from your partner. And yes, wrap it up. Also, do allow me to add a disclaimer here. Having syphilis or an STI doesn't make you bad. It is not something shameful, nor it is embarrassing. We need to remove the stigma of having STIs. That is honestly the only way that we can even begin to tackle this problem. We need to normalize discussions about safe sex and STI prevention. And I cannot believe this still needs to be said. Use condoms. Be safe. And let's keep spreading awareness instead of spreading disease. And if you liked the video, please hit like, please hit subscribe, leave a comment down below, and I will see you very soon on my next video. Thank you.